It's Danielle Burnock from DanielleBurnock.com. Love yourself from Survive to Thrive, that lady on the internet who loves you. And today I want to talk to you about courage. Courage is a very important thing that we need in anyone's life, but for those of us who have suffered from trauma, it takes courage to heal. And there are those out there that think that getting a counselor and going to therapy makes you weak. They could not be more wrong. It takes so much courage to deal with the messes in our lives. But if we will take ownership of them, and if we will take courage, then we can go from surviving to thriving. And I wanted to share that with you today because I came across some more information. I love when I learn new terms all the time because we can heal with just my 4 core values. I know that. You don't need to know any of the fancy terms, but they are helpful. So I'm not dissing any of those fancy terms because I said they are helpful, but there are 4 things. If you have these 4 things, you can heal from your trauma. And the first one is being love and honor centric. That means the center of what's important to you is love and honor. And that includes loving yourself, honoring yourself, receiving love from people, receiving love from God, loving and honoring God. It's a flow. This love and honor centric thing is a flow. And love is what heals our soul. And so love and honor centric is a first core value of a victorious soul that will help you to heal in your life. And the second thing is to have a warrior mindset. And what that means to me is I have a quote from my first book, Emerging with Wings, that says, "I've gotten to where I am by refusing to stay where I was. Change is something I have done over and over again." And that refusing to stay where you are is that warrior mindset. It's like, I'm not staying here. You might not know how to get anywhere. When I published this first book, Emerging with Wings, I had no idea what I was doing, but God helped me. And that warrior mindset served me. And having a love and honor center served me. Even though I was lacking so much in that, I tapped into it as much as I knew how. And then the third thing that a victorious soul is someone who takes ownership. Taking ownership of the good, the bad, taking ownership of our attitudes, taking ownership of our life from today forward. Maybe where you, up until now, maybe your life is completely sucked. And I don't dismiss that at all. And a lot may have happened to you that you had no choice in. I don't diminish that at all. But I have learned that we have something I call a superpower, which is our ability to choose how to respond to what is happening. So we can take ownership of our life starting today and build a new end of our life, the end of our story. The rest of our life, Brene Brown has a quote out there about, if you will own your life, then you can write the end of the story. And in the beginning of my book, Emerging with Wings, I love this one quote, 2 quotes I have at the beginning. One is, taking responsibility for being exactly where you are gives you the power to be exactly where you want to be. That was author unknown. And then this other one by Soren Kierkegaard, life is lived forwards, but understood backwards. And if we will do that, take ownership of where we are right now, because we can't change the past, but we can change starting now. And all we need to do is push into these core values, love and honor centric, warrior mindset, because you matter, and taking ownership. And then the fourth one is self-care, because we can't give from an empty cup. We can't give from an empty garden. And when we have a traumatized soul, we tend to have care for everyone else and not for ourselves. We tend to have compassion for everyone else and not for ourselves. Well, I want to encourage you to lean into these 4 core values. And I want to tell you another thing why. That's what I learned today. About how, more specifically, I knew in general that, childhood trauma damages a child's sense of self. I knew that. But I didn't know these three terminologies or styles of self, or whatever they want to call them out in the community, the psychological community. But if you hear them, you'll go, yeah, I know that one. Yeah, I know that one. And now we have a name for them. And the first one is the wounded self. The wounded self, it's like we split into three kinds of selves in there. They're not distinct personalities or anything, but they're how we treat each other and how we fight with ourselves on the inside. And the first one is the wounded self, and that's where we hold on to all the shame and all the blame and all the hurt and all the despair. That's generally a pretty big part of us. But then the second one is sometimes just as big. They fight a lot. The second one is the judgmental self. And the judgmental self is the one who yells at the wounded self for being wounded. That's when we're attacking ourselves with that judgmental, critical self that is ashamed of the wounded self. The judgmental self is the one that says, don't go to counseling because that's weak. The judgmental self says, no, you better not do that. You just better pretend that you're fine. But then there's the third one that kind of gets smushed under the pile, but it's still there. And that's the observing, compassionate self. That's the one that we give to other people that we need to put to ourselves. And that's when we need to blend them together, and then we can work out. Take ownership of the wounded, take ownership of the judgmental self, take ownership of our kind and caring, compassionate self, and to work this healing into us, because you matter and you owe it to yourself to take up courage and do this. See, I started with courage and I didn't forget. All of this takes courage because it's a lot of work. And so you have to own courage. Because one more thing I want to share with you is another quote from my book. The end of it has gone viral, but the beginning I want to share a little bit because it paints the picture of how we dismiss what we have been through. And we need to stop dismissing it. We need to own it. So it is the last paragraph on page 154 of Emerging with Wings, and it says, no, the teacher's shaming and humiliating of me when I was barely 6 is not the same as the Sandy Hook massacre. No, the subsequent string of various emotional woundings and traumas is not the same as a tsunami. No, the malfunction of love and the invalidation of my personhood by my parents is not the same as a plane crash. No, the spiritual orphaning by the religious leaders is not the same as the Holocaust. You cannot compare them. Trauma is personal. It does not disappear if it is not validated. When it is ignored or invalidated, the silent screams continue, internally heard only by the one held captive. When someone enters the pain and hears the screams, healing can begin. I want to connect that with that wounded self, that judgmental self, that observing compassionate self, because it's the observing compassionate self that needs to go and hear your own screams and needs to tell the judgmental self to shut up and to listen to the wounded one and work that pain out of you. Work that trauma out of you. You can heal. You can thrive. And if you have childhood trauma, get a copy of my book, Emerging with Wings. If you have trauma in your adult life, get a copy of my book, Because You Matter. And I am available for coaching as well. You don't have to do this alone, but maybe you need a counselor. And I am not a counselor. I am a coach. I do not give medical advice. I help with emotional healing and thriving in life because I love you, because you matter. And I have a course that goes with Emerging with Wings. Heal your childhood self. And you can go through it in the metered way of 12 weeks, or you can do it as fast as you want because you're impatient, because that judgmental self is on your case. And I'm working on the new course that goes with my Because You Matter book, Heal Your Adult Self, because I love you and I want you to have the tools that you need to heal, because you deserve to thrive. because you are deeply loved. God loves you. I love you. I want you to love you. And so take courage, own courage, do something for you. I have a coaching 15-minute thing that we can do for just $5 for you to see if you think I'm a good fit and if I think you're a good fit, if we would work well together. And you're like, why $5? Because you matter. And if you don't pay something, you're liable to bail on yourself. But if you'll pay even just $5, you'll start. You'll start to invest in yourself because you matter. My coaching is not that cheap. That's just the first 15-minute little discovery session is what I call it. But you deserve to be healed. So choose what will serve you. Choose courage, own courage, and do something for yourself today. I love you. Until next time, mwah.